Get into it. Let's get into it. And immediately I forgot about this that I just like I wanted to cover before I started. What kind of bullshit is this, yo? Talk now, ironically, ironically, what happened? Um, fuck, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, I can't. Oh my god, stop, bro. Stop. I can't show that on stream. Stop it. I have to clip that. We're gonna start here. Yo, talk about being black in America. You don't own none of it. You don't own none of this shit. Like, for this to come out on Martin Luther King Jr., like, they there are dog whistles, right? There are these little microaggressions that people know. Stop. They are they are people they are people that there are fuck, I keep losing my train of thought because it's so painful to fucking talk about. There's just like people will say things like, "Oh, you're a cute girl. You're a cute Asian girl." Huh? "Oh, you're a really well-spoken black man." Huh? Like, you're the whitest black guy I know. Bro, did you think about that sentence before you said it out of your mouth? And I'm like, yeah, that shit is prevalent in fucking teenagers. So we definitely aren't past the racial undertone of the country. We definitely didn't solve racism with the Civil Rights Act. And y'all killed Martin Luther King Jr. So you gonna have to explain to me how, like, I still have to explain to people that at least the guy in charge for the next 2 days, oh, the inauguration is coming, baby. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Yo, it is so crazy to me that they would publish this shit. Like, that they would actually publish this shit. Like, so we're gonna dive into it a little, and I'm gonna show you some bullshit. So the 77, the 1776 Commission, comprised of some of America's most distinguished scholars and historians, has released a report presenting a definitive chronicle of the American founding, a powerful description of the effect on the principles of the Declaration of Whoa. Oh, we got a gift sub. Thank you for the gift sub. Very much appreciated. A powerful description of the effect on the principles of the Declaration of Independence have had on this nation's history, and a dispositive rebuttal of reckless re-education attempts to seek to reframe American history around the idea that the United States is not an exceptional country, but an evil one. Now what? Yeah, y'all are dumb. Y'all are wild. First of all, the fuck is that? The 1776 report. The president's advisory. Okay, blah blah blah. So I looked at the table of contents. The meaning of the declaration, I'm scared. A constitutional principles, I'm scared. Challenges to America's principles. Wait, what? Oh, I gotta read that. I gotta figure out where we at on that one. Because I'm pretty sure that's saying, like, is it saying America's principles? Like, oh shit. Oh, the task of national renewal, the role of the family, teaching America, a scholarship of freedom, the American mind, reverence for the laws, Conclusion, appendix, the Declaration of Independence, faith in America's principles, created equal or identity politics, teaching Americans about their country. Okay, I'm not gonna read like all of this. What? In the course of human events, there have always been those who deny or reject human freedom, but Americans will never falter in defending the fundamental truths of human liberty proclaimed on July 4th, 1776. We must always hold these truths. The declared purpose of the President's Advisory 1776 Commission is to enable a rising generation to understand the history and principles of the founding of the United States in 1776 and to strive to form a more perfect union. Okay, so we are all clear that in 1776 black people were slaves, right? We're good on that? Are we are we on that, right? We on that wavelength, right? Because you want to go where? You want to go where? Uh, what? Okay. We're good. We're good. We're good. We're good. Swear to God, we're good. Good. Okay. Okay. I'm not gonna lose my temper. I'm not gonna lose my temper. The Commission's first responsibility is to produce a report summarizing the principles of the American founding and how those principles have shaped our country. That can only be done by truthfully recounting the aspirations and actions of men and women who sought to build America as a shining city on a hill, an exemplary nation, one that protects the safety and promotes the happiness of its people, as an example to be admired and emulated by nations of the world that wish to steer the government towards greater liberty and justice. That's true. Okay, I'm not going to read all that shit. The meaning of the Declaration. The United States is, in most respects, a nation like any other. It embraces a people who inhabit a territory governed by laws administered by human beings. Like other countries, our country has borders, resources, industries, cities, and towns, for blah, blah, blah. Relatively young countries, people who have shared a common struggle and achievement for governing community outside of a vast, untamed wilderness, to winning independence and forming a new government through wars, administration, ways of immigration. So, in other respects, however, the United States is unusual. It is a republic. You dead ass. Are you? It's a republic. No wonder these white fucking chuds say that shit. Oh my god, this thing is filled with dog whistles, and we're only fucking 3 things in. That is to say that its government was designed to be directed by the will of the people rather than the wishes of a single individual or a narrow class of elites. Republicanism is an ancient form of government, but one uncommon through history. Okay, you're going to talk about Democrats? No, what the fuck? The United First, it has a definite birthday. Definitive. No, definite. Fuck. Anyway, it declares from the moment of its founding not merely based on the principles on which its new government will be based. It asserts those principles to be true and universal, applicable to, okay, whatever. Whatever, when it was born. There was no United States of America before July 4th, 1776. There was not yet, formally speaking, and instead of living 13 British colonies in North America, some 2.5 million subjects of a distant king. Those subjects became a people by declaring themselves such, and then by winning the independence they had asserted as their right. They made that assertion on the basis of principle, not blood or kinship, or what we might call today ethnicity. Oh my God, he didn't just say that. It wasn't based on ethnicity. No, do you like miss that like the majority of the people who were allowed to come there were did like Liberty's Kids explain that? Fucking PBS show explain that, or was it PBS? I don't think it was PBS. Let me go check. It was PBS. I was right. I was right. I was right. Nice. Nice. Very nice. I was correct. So Liberty's kids already explained that the majority of the settlers were white, European descent. They were the people that were afforded to allow to go by the fucking guy, the monarch, the king. Okay, so that's not true. It might be a very small lie, but I shouldn't be able to find a straight up lie in something that the White House provides to its people. That like being like off is okay. Like I didn't get it like exactly right, but like okay. So we're gonna skip all this. A constitution of principles. It is one thing to discern and assert the true principles of political legitimacy and justice. It is quite another to establish those principles among an actual people, an actual government here on earth. As Winston Churchill put it in a not dissimilar context, even the best of men struggling in the most just of causes cannot guarantee victory. Ooh, excuse me. They can only deserve it. The founders of the United States perhaps miraculously achieved what they set out to achieve. They defeated the world's strongest military and financial power and won their independence. They then faced the task of forming a country that would honor and implement the principles upon which they had declared independence. Oh my God, the bedrock upon which the American political system is built is the rule of law. The vast difference between tyranny and the rule of law is a central theme of political thinkers back to classical whatever, blah, 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 blah. Get to where the black people don't have rights, get to where that happens. To assure, you can leave a message that says unknown. I don't like that. To assure such a government, Americans demanded a written legal document that would create both a structure and a process for securing their rights and liberties and spell out the divisions and limits of the powers of government. A legal document must be above ordinary legislation and day to day politics. That is what the founders meant by constitution and why our constitution is the supreme law of the land. Okay, so if you don't know what's wrong with that, that means that conservatism has a place. You can always default to the Constitution. You can always default to the Constitution, but in a world that changes very rapidly, especially like in okay, so maybe this is going out of my league here, but we're gonna try it anyway. We're gonna try it anyway. So, if my understanding is correct, we abide by the Constitution in how we base and create new law. It is the foundation to which we govern ourselves. It is the principles that we try to adhere to as we continuously grow and expand in this country. If the founding fathers had no idea that the Nintendo Switch was ever going to be a thing, or that people would be able to send messages very quickly back and forth within literal milliseconds, how does that document live up to now? Now, there's been amendments to it already. We know that. We have the Bill of Rights and the amendments. But that document could not have possibly reflected the world that we live in now. We cannot be a nation that, let's say, somehow gets to 1,000 years old and we're still living off a document in 1776. Like, something has to change about that. It's not a worthy document to stand up to time. Again, I understand that that's heavy implications, but I'm essentially sure that like that can't be the way we continue to move forward, right? Like there's no way I can envision myself being the same person as I was 10 years ago. My interests have changed, my opportunities have changed. You know, it was written in the Constitution that, black people was not They enslaved the Negro. Like, what what does that entitle for me to think about when I think about the Constitution? Like, I feel like it's not. Now, obviously, the freedoms that we live on, et cetera, non grata, are of course the things that we would keep. Like, I'm not saying throw the whole document away, like create a whole new one. We have a pretty sound structural system. It's not afforded to everyone the same way. And obviously, that's a point of contention into why it should change. But that's just a matter of fact of who's in power and how they use it, not a fact of it existing, at least in that regard. Like, we can admit that a murderer that's killed 35 people should be locked up, but like my homie down the street who was just walking with a J in his hand should not also be locked up. So there is a reason for it. But the question is now, like, why does that document become the be all end all for all of this? In a world that doesn't even reflect the world that it was written in. Like there's no way we could be like the Constitution allowed us to drop two bombs on another country. No way. No way. No way. No way. No way. No way. Straight up drop them shits. Like, enough with this Constitution shit. We're gonna read a couple more and then I'm gonna just skip it because this is what I mean. See, shit like this is boring sometimes. Like, I wouldn't sit here and read this if I wasn't with you guys. But like reading it gives me a very heavy context into who they're trying to reach and what those types of people think about. So I guess we're back to the first topic. What it's like to be black in America. I gotta think in a deeper subtext about the shit that's just written for everybody. Because there's always a double meaning behind it for people like me. There's always something that I'm not gonna understand. There's always some point of it that I'm not gonna get. And I have to live in fear that if I don't get that point as well as I should have, then damn, I'm fucked, bro. Damn, I'm fucked. I'm literally fucked. But they get to keep talking about this stuff for free. They complain about, oh, they're being censored, this, that, and the other, this, that, and that. But they get the president of the United States to write something like that. You've got to be kidding me if you don't see some type of travesty going on with that. You got to be kidding me if you don't see that. If that's not plain to you, just looking at that paragraph that we just read, then there's a problem. Now you could say, "Well, there's a whole big text, man. Don't you're cherry picking to push your agenda, bro. I shouldn't have gotten this. It shouldn't have taken this quick to find something that would set me off like that." And back to the point. If you was here earlier in the chat, back to the point I just made again. Maybe when I go off into a tangent, I'm afraid, I gotta keep it around the subject. People want to hear the big words. People want to hear you eloquently like put it into words that they could like. Come on, that shit is a dog whistle, and you're gonna ask me how am I getting there? Because that's not speaking about anything but like this old at like. What are you saying? What are you saying? The intent of the framers of the Constitution was to construct a government that would be sufficiently strong to perform those essential tasks that only a government can perform, such as establishing justice, ensuring domestic tranquility, providing for the common defense, and promoting the general welfare. But not so strong as to jeopardize the people's liberties. In other words, a new government needed to be strong enough to have the power to secure rights without having so much power as to enable or encourage it to infringe rights. See? You're infringing on my right! I don't have to wear a mask. Dog, like just the little words. The little words. Here and there, you see it. You see it. It's there. It's fucking there. That's what's crazy to me. They get to sneak that shit in for free, bro. For free. Okay, here we go. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It's the word of the day. Slavery. Are you ready for a day? For a challenge? Challenges to America's principles. Get your MAGA hats out. It's going down. It's going down. Challenges to constitutional government are frequent and to be expected in a popular government based on consent. In his farewell address, Sir George Washington advised his countrymen that when it came to the preservation of the Constitution, they should resist with care the spirit of innovation upon its principles. However, fuck me, bro. Specious the pretext. The Constitution is proven sturdy against narrow interest groups that seek to change elements of the Constitution merely to get their way. That's not even a dog whistle. That's straight up the left. That's straight up the left. Like you. Every Trump head that just read that said out loud, "He's talking about the left." Oh my God, they went against President Trump, them blacks. I could never. I've been living down in this little water hole in Mississippi. Nah, Jones. You know, funny shit though, like the right Southern drawl is really, really fucking hot. Like, I'm just like the right one. Oh my God. Talk to me. Just talk to me. At the same time, it is important to note that by design, there's room in the Constitution for significant change and reform. Indeed, great reforms like abolition, women's suffrage, anti communism. The civil rights movement and the pro life movement. You just executed somebody like 2 days ago. More problematic have been movements that reject the fundamental truth of the Declaration of Independence and seek to destroy our constitutional order. These arguments, tactics, and names of these movements have changed, and the magnitude of the challenge is varied, yet they are all united by adherence to the same falsehood that people do not have equal worth and equal rights. You explain it. You explain it. How? All right, it's Professor Green time. Real quick, he's coming out. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is the exact thing I would never ask you to write. You cannot present an idea within a text, in a strong text. Obviously, you can do it when you know you're texting your friends. But there is no way that you are allowed, in any sense of academic writing, to begin a point and then absolutely shit on said point in the very next paragraph. It is important to note that by design, there is room in the Constitution for significant change and reform. Indeed, great reforms like abolition, women's suffrage, anti communism, the civil rights movement, the pro life movement have often come forward to improve our dedications to the principles. Very next paragraph. The arguments, tactics, and names of these movements have changed, and the magnitude of the challenge is varied, yet they are all united by adherence to the same falsehood that people do not have equal worth and equal rights. So, before these groups existed, we all had equal worth and equal rights, but we needed the changes to the Constitution in order for us to get to that place. Are you fucking serious? That makes me mad. That makes me mad. That makes me legitimately mad. Whoever wrote this has never spent time in the hood. Like, you don't spend time with poor people. You don't get it. You don't get how much that shit hurts when you see kids with new kicks and you still wearing shoes that's like this fucking soul. You're not there. You're not cutting up your towels to make extra washcloths. You're not there. You're not there. You've never been there. And you don't want to be there. How do they live like this? That shit is hurtful to my feelings. That's crazy to me. At the infancy of our republic, the threat was a despotic king who violated the people's rights and overthrew the colonists' long-standing tradition of self-government. After decades of struggle, the colonists succeeded in establishing a more perfect union founded upon not upon the capricious whims of a tyrant, but upon the most common charge leveled against the founders and hence against our country itself. Didn't steal the bars. I've referenced him before. You just don't watch the stream enough to get it. Is that they were hypocrites who didn't believe in their stated principles and therefore the country they built rests on a lie. This charge is untrue and has done enormous damage, especially in recent years, with a devastating effect on our civic unity and social fabric. Many American laborers, many Americans labor under the illusion that slavery was somehow a uniquely American evil. It is essential to insist at the outset that the institution be seen as a much broader perspective. It is very hard for people brought up in the comforts of modern America in a time in which the idea that all human beings have inviolable rights and inherent dignity is almost taken for granted, to imagine the cruelties and enormities that were endemic in earlier times. But the unfortunate fact is that the institution of slavery has been more the rule than the exception throughout human history. That whole paragraph translates to, so there was some slavery, but holy shit. But the unfortunate fact is that the institution of slavery has been more rule than the exception throughout human history. Yet you chose to participate in it. Because you didn't view the Negro man as being as strong of a human being as you were. You saw us as subhuman. The people who were enslaved, they're probably going to bring up the fucking history of kingdoms enslaving other kingdoms, but like that's a whole different other story. It was the Western world's repudiation of slavery only just beginning to build at the time of the American Revolution, which marks a dramatic sea change in moral sensibilities. The American founders were living on the cusp of this change in a manner that straddled two worlds. George Washington owned slaves, but came to detest the practice and wished for a plan adopted for the abolition of it. You can't. I just explained why you are not allowed to do this. By the end of his life, he freed all the slaves in his family estate. Did he give him? Did he give him money? Did he elevate their status so they just weren't enslaved by some random guy walking around thinking that they were free slaves? Were they famous slaves so everybody knew not to enslave them once they walked off? Were they allowed in the white spaces? Were they one of the accepted Negroes? Why don't you say anything about that? Oh, because that didn't happen. Thomas Jefferson also held slaves and yet introduced in his original draft of the Declaration a strong condemnation of slavery, which was removed at the instance of certain slaveholding delegates. Oh, so slaveholding delegates that wanted it that wanted a complete and overhaul of, running black bodies into the ground to work for you. Huh. They were in the government? Oh boy. I wonder. I wonder. Oh man. I wonder. That's an interesting point. Thanks for writing that in something that's going to be archived in human history. At least until we all nuke each other and everything gets burnt out. But USBs and roaches will still be working. James Madison saw to it that the Constitutional Convention, that even when Constitution compromised with slavery, it never used the word slave to do so. No more semantics. He insisted that it was wrong to admit in the Constitution that they could be property in men. It's important to remember that as a question of practical politics, and no durable union could have been formed without a compromise among the states on the issue of slavery. It is that's gaslighting. It is important to remember that as a question of practical politics, no durable union could have been formed without a compromise among the states on the issue of slavery. Yet that same durable union ended up splitting in the Civil War. You literally have the history that you keep bringing up every single time. And then they just skip over it. They just gloss over that shit. Excuse me. They just gloss over it like nasty little rope. Just glossing over it. That's hard. That's fucking hard. Isn't it reasonable to believe that slavery could have been abolished sooner had the slave states not been in a union with the free? Perhaps. But what is monumentous is that a people that included slaveholders founded their nation on the proposition that all men are created equal. So why did they say that without immediately abolishing slavery? To establish the principle of consent as the ground of all political legitimacy, and to check against any possible future drift toward or return to despotism for sure. But also in Lincoln's words, to declare the right so that the enforcement of it might follow as fast as circumstances should permit. The foundation of our republic planted the seeds of the death of slavery. I've heard that line before. Foundation of our republic planted the seeds of the death of slavery in America. The Declaration's unified, unqualified proclamation of human equality flatly contradicted with the existence of human bondage, and along with the Constitution's compromises understood in the light of that proposition, set the stage for abolition. Indeed, the movement to abolish slavery that first began in the United States led the way of bringing about the end of legal slavery. So no other fucking country on this planet didn't have slaves. Everybody had slaves. There were just some people that needed to be slaves to other people. I'm trying to figure out who's the slave now. Oh, you fucking gaslighter. I knew that shit was coming. The Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass had been born a slave, but escaped and eventually became a prominent spokesman for the abolitionist movement. He initially condemned the Constitution, though, but after studying its history, came to insist that it was a glorious liberty document and that the Declaration of Independence was the ring bolt to the chain of your nation's destiny. Yo, whitewashing black history. This shit is gaslighting every head right now. And yet, over the course of the first half of the 19th century, a growing number of Americans increasingly denied the truth at the heart of the founding. Senator John C. Calhoun of South Carolina famously rejected the Declaration's principle of equality as the most dangerous of all political error and a self-evident lie. He never doubted that the founders meant what they said. This conflict was resolved, but at the more than 600,000 lives. Constitutional amendments were passed to abolish slavery, grant equal protection under the law, and guarantee the right to vote regardless of race. Yet, the damage done by the denial of core American principles and by the attempted substitution of a theory of group rights in their place provided widespread and long lasting. These indeed are the direct ancestors of some of the destructive theories that today divide our people and tear at the fabric of our country. So I didn't like take every sentence because I don't want to bore myself with that, and that's just how I feel today. If you're just coming in, I had a whole segment. You'll catch the VOD. You know where it is. YouTube. Hit the YouTube and fucking description. Subscribe to that. But I'm you're meeting me today. In other words, I'm not trying to be a fucking personality and be a shift. It's Marquise say. Anyway, so that's all bullshit. That's all bullshit. That's crazy to me. Wow. It's not wrong. There are heavy facts in there, but it definitely paints the picture that, like, there was some slavery, but you guys should just get over it. They act like it's like this little like rock that I can't cross. Just get over the run. Come over to the river, brother. We're gonna go paddle sailing, and it's gonna be crazy. We're gonna go kayaking. It's Bob for marketing. We're going kayaking. We're going whitewater rafting. It's gonna be insane. And the president just put that shit at the White House, the pinnacle of the, like, nobody attacks the White House. White House down. How we got a whole era in our history books called Jim Crow after the Civil War, and we acting like racism just ends. It's facts. That's big facts. How we? Why are we like this, yo? Who let this person like put this out? Okay. Progressivism. Oh, I nailed that word. In the decades that followed the Civil War, in response to the Industrial Revolution and the expansion of urban society, many American elites adopted a series of ideas to address those changes called progressivism. Although not all of one piece, and although not all of one piece, and not without its practical merits, the political thought of progressivism held that the times had moved far beyond the founding era and that contemporary society was too complex any longer to be governed by principles formulated in the 18th century. This is facts, though. That is human history. You really think we should be living by the laws of the Vikings in the 1910s? Of the 1910s, 1090s? Yeah, 1910s, bro. Tell them you can get liquor at a store. There's just a place, and there's many of them. There's so many of them. You don't have to sit there and grind your grapes anymore. We got machines that do that, baby. Yo, remember those little axes and like arrows y'all had? Assassin's Creed Valhalla or whatever. Yo, we got guns. We clap heads. We clap heads. We clap heads. That's what we do. We pull up and gratata. Gratata. We clap heads. Fuck is you doing? Why you on my block? We clap heads out here. So yeah, progressivism is correct. To use a contemporary analogy, positive good, and specifically to prevent lawful majorities from stopping the spread of slavery in the federal territory. Oh shit, wrong one. To use a contemporary analogy, progressives, wrote this. Progressives believe that America's original software, the founding documents, were no longer capable of operating America's vastly more complex hardware, the advanced industrial society that emerged since the founding. More significantly, the progressives held the truths that were not permanent but only relative to their time. They restricted the self-evident truth of the declaration that all men are created equal and are endowed equally, either by nature or by God, with unchanging rights. As one prominent progressive historian, I'm going to cherry pick something to make my point. To ask whether the natural rights of philosophy of the Declaration of Independence is true or false is essentially a meaningless question. Correct. This is correct. When you say freedom of speech, they weren't talking about Twitter. Like, Twitter is an entity that did not exist. There was no there was no way that they foresaw that. They didn't know we were going to have nuke atom bombs. Eventually, society will have to unite as one. All of it, every human on Earth. If we start going to other planets, like, this is why I hate that there's such a raging boner for fucking Star Wars and fucking Lord of the Rings and shit. And they don't, you tell them that there's a political message and they'll be like, don't bring politics into my Star Wars, bro. Keep that shit over there with the other people. Don't bring politics into my Star Wars. I'm like, you didn't get the resistance and the Empire and the First Order and why all the stormtroopers were fucking white. And in that same vein, their leader of the fucking Empire wore the black one. People be like, you're looking too deep into it. Bro, the guy who made it said it. Like, what do you want out of my life? Cool, though. Cool. Instead, progressives believe that there are only group rights that are consistently redefined and changed with the times. Indeed, society has the power and obligation to not only define and grant new rights, but also to take old rights away as the country develops. What? What? Take rights from who? We need more proof on Star Wars? Oh, I got you right now. I mean, come on. There's been like whole interviews and stuff. Please don't. I feel like you're kidding me. You're messing with my mind, and I just got debated, and I hate it. I don't want to look at the chat. I'm just gonna look it up anyway. I'm just gonna. We're here now. I would do a well, let's do a Time article. Okay. Does it play? Is she reading it? If she's reading it, I'll put it on stream.
Hollywood loves making movies.
Oh, okay. No, I don't think it is. I think they're just doing a piece. Yo, I could
about
move
Washington
tabs
D.C.
to-
But one of the
tabs
most
to other windows now, and it's so cool. It's so cool. Hey, oh, you're joking. God damn it. I knew it. I never watched that movie. Yo, and most sci-fi
influential movies in American politics was set in a galaxy far, far away from the nation's capital. To understand how Star Wars came to affect American politics so much, it's important to understand how it started. When writer and director George Lucas sat down in 1973 to write Star Wars, the trial of the Watergate burglars had just begun.
Oh,
because people have got to know whether or not their president's a crook. Well, I'm not a crook.
He modeled the movie's bad guy, Emperor Palpatine, after Richard Nixon, casting him as a career politician who craves absolute power. His goal was to highlight how democracies fail.
So this is how liberty dies. With thunderous applause.
But the audience didn't always react the way he intended. In fact, it's been conservatives, not liberals like Lucas, who have most consistently made use of the movie's powerful imagery of good and evil. In a 1983 speech, President Ronald Reagan called the Soviet Union an evil empire, conjuring up associations with the galactic empire of the Star Wars universe.
To ignore the facts of history and the aggressive impulses of an evil empire.
When Reagan gave a speech a few weeks later calling for a space-based missile defense system, critics dubbed it Star Wars, and the name stuck.
Well, if you'll pardon my stealing a film line, the Force is with us.
Over the following decades, politicians from both parties made references to the movie as they tried to sell their messages.
The fact that they don't take it means that I should somehow, do a Jedi mind meld.
Mike Lee, I am your father.
Fuck Ted
You can
Cruz.
always tell when the Republicans are restless because the vice president's motorcade pulls into the Capitol and Darth Vader emerges.
In an unexpected turn of events, some conservatives embraced the Empire.
If we're going to talk about Star Wars, we might as well invite Darth Vader.
For George Lucas, who set
Not
out to
even
make
the
a
hero,
movie about why
the
empires are
villain.
bad, frustrating that must be.
Yo, fuck is you talking about? Yeah. Progressivism aims to do the same thing that Palpatine was doing, kill democracy. Yeah. The leftists align with Emperor Palpatine so hard. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. They never read Yo, okay, so if you don't know, I don't know if you guys know, when people say, yo, this is 1984, this is Orwellian, just be like, yo, Fahrenheit 451 would be a better example of what's going on right now. That's how literally illiterate you are. Bars. I came for bars. Like, don't do that. Don't do that. Y'all like bars. You like bars. Don't do that. Based on this false understanding of rights, the progressives designed a new system of government. Instead of securing fundamental rights grounded in nature, government, operating under a new theory of the living constitution, should constantly evolve to secure evolving rights. Yo, conservatives suck at like not hiding the benefits of like not being a conservative. In order to keep up with these changes, government would be run more and more by credentialed managers who would direct society through rules and regulations that mold to the currents of the time. Before he became president of the United States, Woodrow Wilson laid out this new system whereby the functions of government are in a very real sense independent of legislation and even constitutions. Far from creating an omniscient body of civil servants only led by pragmatism of science, though, that's a meritocracy, though progressives instead created what amounts to a fourth branch of government called at times the bureaucracy of the administrative state. This shadow government never faces elections and today operates largely without checks and balances. The founders always opposed government unaccountable to the people without constitutional restraint. Yet it continues to go around us. It's the boogeyman. It's the motherfucking boogeyman. It's the boogeyman. The boogeyman, guys. I would read the fascism thing. Okay, I'm not even going to read the fascism or communism one because I could sum that up for you without even reading it in like a couple sentences. I'm so serious. If you fucking with this, I need you in the chat right now just to answer this question. You're not going to be able to answer it. If being a Nazi is so bad, then why do people still, if being a Nazi is demonized and so bad and so horrible, then why do some Americans still fly the Nazi flag and say Heil Hitler? Checkmate, libs. That's that whole sentence. That's that whole astonishing to me that people still fly the Nazi flag in America and we just, that's not a problem. That's not a problem. Yo, Germany was like, no more Nazis. We was like, it's you and me, bro. Come on. Like, yo. Come on, just come over here. What's up? Come on. What the fuck is good? What's up? What's poppin'? What's chatting? What you doing? Hey, how you feeling? Racism and identity politics. This is what I wanted. The 13th Amendment. The 13th Amendment to the Constitution, passed after the Civil War, brought an end to legal slavery. Blacks enjoyed a. Shout out if you're one of the blacks. Yo, shout out if you're one of the blacks. Darkness, motherfucker. Midnight. Evil, motherfucker. Black magic. Darkness. Yeah. Oh, shit, son. Oh, shit, son. My motherfucking shout out to the blacks. Shout out to the blacks. Enjoy the new equality and freedom, voting for and holding elective office in states across the union. That shit didn't happen till the fucking Jim Crow shit had to be repealed back. And they didn't get the Voting Rights Act until what the fuck? Despite the determined efforts of the post-war Reconstruction Congress to establish civil liberty and civil equality for freed slaves, the post-bellum South ended up devolving into a system that was hardly better than slavery. The system enmeshed freedmen in relationships of extreme dependency and used poll taxes, literary tests, and the violence of vigilante groups like the Ku Klux Klan to prevent them from exercising their civil rights, particularly the right to vote. Jim Crow laws enforced the strict segregation of the races. It gave legal standing in some states and a pervasive subordination of blacks. It would take a national movement comprised of people. Oh, yeah, put Martin Luther King in black. Yo, you ever notice how all the pictures of Martin Luther King are in black and white? So they can make you think, oh, that shit was so long ago, bro. We didn't even have color back then. Civil rights movement. Today, far from a regime of equal natural rights for equal citizens enforced by the equal application of law, we have moved towards a system of explicit group privilege that, in the name of social justice, demands equal results and explicitly sorts citizens into protected classes based on race and other demographic categories. Eventually, this regime of formal inequality would come to be known as identity politics, the stepchild of earlier rejections of the founding identity politics. Identity politics today is in danger of throwing this inheritance away. The choice before us now is clear. Will we choose the truth of the Declaration, or will we fall prey to the false theories that have led too many nations to tyranny? It is our mission, all of us, to restore our national unity by rekindling a brave and honest love for our country and by raising new generations of citizens who not only know the self-evident truths of our founding, but act worthy of them. That's a Nazi state. That's a Nazi state. That's a Nazi state. That's a Führer state. That's an authoritarian state. This country is great and you deserve to be here. And if you don't like it, we're not even going to let you leave. We're going to put you in places where you should be, and that's where you're going to stay, and you're going to work there, and you're going to generate wealth for the rest of the people in this country who deserve it because they love our country and love our founding fathers and love our Constitution and love everything about it, and you don't, so you deserve to be. It's projection to the maximum. It's projection to the maximum. That's what it's like to be black in America. Everybody projects that you want what they have. Bro, I'm just saying, I don't have a chance to do that. If you try hard enough, you'll get there. No. There are barriers. There are barriers. If I had enough cash on me, if I had $2 million in cash on me, you wouldn't sell me your house. You bring friends when we go meet up for stuff because you're afraid that I'm going to jump out with my hood friends and jump you for it. Bro, my name and my face are plastered all over the internet. I would preferably not like to do that. I would not like to do that. I would not like to do that. That's crazy to me that shit is written there. Do we have the choice? The choice before us now is clear. The best is yet to come. The best is yet to come. We will not let them divide us. They think that we are not the... Like something out of a fever dream, I'm generally afraid to be a black man in this country. And now you know that. This shit is not a game. This shit is not League of Legends. This shit is not Call of Duty. This is real fucking life. So sometimes this flows into my head when I think about, damn, my viewer count is low, or damn, people might not like what I'm streaming today, or damn, there's not a lot of people chatting, and damn this, and I'm not making enough money off of it, so I have to try something else, or I got to get a day. But at the same time, there is a world out there that does not value my body as worth living or fighting for. And this entire thing just ignores that. And it ignores it in a way that's so blatantly obvious that it's insanity to me that somebody was like, yeah, let's publish that shit on our way out. That's inciting violence. I'm post-blocked on Facebook for quoting Pulp Fiction. But my female friends get harassed every day, daily. That's not against terms of service, though. We didn't find anything that violates our community guidelines. The kids in my class had better community guidelines than what you've got. The role of the family by their very nature. I'm done with this. This shit is annoying. Okay, I tell you what. Since we just started, we'll go through a little bit of it. I just won't do an introspect. I'll just read it. By their very nature, families are the first educators, teaching children how to treat others with respect, make wise decisions, exercise patience, think for themselves, and steadfastly guard their God-given liberties. It is good mothers and fathers above all who form good people and good citizens. This is why Americans have great them when children see the mother. Oh shit! Dog whistle. Right here. When adults speak out against dangerous doctrines that threaten our freedom and values, children learn the time-tested concept of free expression and the courageous spirit of American independence. When parents serve a neighbor in need, they model charity, and when families pray together, they acknowledge together the providence of Almighty God who gave them this sacred liberty. As though God only created America and other countries were created by the devil. You're fucking sick. This is sick shit. That's sick shit. That's sick. That's fucking sick. Teaching America. The primary duty of schools is to teach students the basic skills needed to function in society, such as reading, writing, and mathematics. Those are not the basic skills needed to function in this society. Kids can't even build computers, but they can do fucking quadratic equations. Nice. As discussed in Appendix 4, our fathers also recognize a second essential task. Educators must convey a sense of enlightened patriotism that equips each generation with a knowledge of America's founding principles, a deep reverence for their liberties, and a profound love of their country. No. Make no mistake, the love we are talking about is something different from the romantic... Oh, yeah, it goes down. Love and liberty cannot rationally become the object of our love. Blah, blah, blah. So going to respect the rule of law and protect the country they know and love. Like any love worthy of the name, must be embraced freely and be strong and unsentimental enough to coexist with the elements of disappointment, criticism, blah, blah, blah. But is love all the same without that deep foundation or supply? So they're painting themselves as the martyrs fighting for everything good and holy in this world, while the radical left is trying to change you into this monster baby-eating monster that speaks everybody's language and is 62 genders. That's crazy to me. That's wild to me on a whole nother level. That's sick shit. That's sick shit. That's not what I do when I go into a classroom. I don't preach how good America is, because it's not. But you know what's crazy? So somebody says that, clips that, and they're just like, oh, look, another leftist Marxist teacher teaches his kids that America isn't great. It's funny because they feel like they're not treated well in this country. They've been harassed. They bring it up. Yeah, just, there's some racism, but that's like such a small subset. You'll never face that in the real world. When you guys grow up and get your big, beautiful jobs, you'll have all the fun in the world and everything will be perfect. That's sick shit. That's sick shit. States and schools districts should reject any curriculum that promotes one-sided partisan opinions, activist propaganda, or factional ideologies that demean America's heritage, dishonor our heroes, or deny our principles. Anytime teachers and administrators promote political agendas in the classroom, they abuse their platform and dishonor every family who trusts them with their children's education and moral development. Scholarship of Freedom, the American Mind, Reverence for the Laws, Conclusion, the Declaration of Independence. One day I'll fuck.